Welcome to Darlington, South Carolina for the Darlington 300 here at Darlington Raceway. I'm excited to be here alongside Chris Speer. Chris, it's going to be a huge night for these drivers, a throwback weekend here at Darlington.
One of my favorite racetracks on the NASCAR circuit because of its history and the fact that we get to play around with the old-time schemes of legends past. And that's one of my favorite parts about this track, Jared.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting because, Chris, we have, not to mention, you talked about the throwback paint schemes that we're going to have tonight on the broadcast, but it's going to be even more exciting because we're into race number 13, lucky 13, if you will, and we are already getting down to the point where drivers are going to have to start thinking about playoff opportunities and chances, and Darlington is the opening round of the Darkmatter Designs Cup Series playoffs this year. And Chris, how much more does that make this race important here tonight?
Well, it's a kind of a importance because, for one, you're finally understanding how your car is going to handle at this track and kind of get an idea for it. Only difference is that playoff race, it's not during the daytime.
Exactly right. It's a day to night race, I think, or a afternoon to night race. And that's going to make it a little bit more interesting. But we take a look at this treacherous Darlington track. It's 1.366 miles. And Chris, it's a little bit unique in the fact that turn 1 and 2 totally different than turns 3 and 4. How do you approach this track and make sure that you're ready to go in all 4 areas of this tough track here in Darlington?
Well, one of the things you have to think about is where you want to be able to be more comfortable, whether or not it's going to be 1 and 2 or in 3 and 4. And the reason why the track is so difficult, and legend has it that the reason why it's that little egg-shaped track is because there's a little minnow pond right side out of 1 and 2 that the owner would not relocate in order for them to build this track. So that's why it's as steep as it is in those areas.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Chris. That is the legend, the myth about Darlington. Not necessarily myth. I don't think. I mean, it's pretty much a well-known thing, but makes it a very unique track. And several tracks in the world have tried to copy this track. Gateway, for instance, in the United States. Twin Ring Motegi in Japan also used Darlington as inspiration. We take a look. First off, let's take a look at the point standings coming into tonight's race. Casey Mullen jumping one spot after last week's finish. He did not win. He has not won yet, but he is first in the points currently with 350 points. Richie Coy second, Bobby Terrell third. Royal and Torgerson round out your top 5. Then we have Nearad, Winter, Person, Doucet, and Speer, your top 10. And I do believe, Chris, that Ronnie Royal is not going to be able to make it tonight because of some family circumstances. So thoughts with Ronnie and his family on him not being here tonight. But Chris, this is a big opportunity for some of these drivers that haven't won. We have 3 drivers in the top 10 in points, 4 drivers, apologies, that have not won a single race yet this year.
Well, winning isn't everything. You can ask Ryan Newman how many times he's been in the playoffs without ever making a trip to victory lane in the Cup Series. So there's certainly a way to do it, but it's a lot harder than just getting a win.
Exactly. And you look back at some of these other drivers, Brody Hanna, 25th in points. That is the cutoff to make the playoffs if you have a win. So right now that would put Tim Bills outside of the playoff bubble, even though he is 16th in points, and puts Lane Allen squarely on the playoff bubble in 15th for those drivers without a win here at the Darlington Raceway. But that is part of the story. But the other part of the story is this is the going to be our 4th race in full throttle sim racing at Darlington. This is the first season that NASCAR is going to have and FTSR is going to have Darlington on the schedule twice. Now, NASCAR had it on the schedule back in 2004 twice. That was the last time Darlington was on the schedule that many times. But FTSR has only raced this track one time, 3 previous times, or 1 time per year, 3 previous times in FTSR. And Dean Doucet has won 2 of those races, and our defending champion Bernard Person won the other one, Chris. Tonight could be a big night for both those drivers.
It certainly can, and looking at the practice boards, Dean Doucet is actually on top right here as of right now in practice as we head into qualifying.
Exactly right. Qualifying about to start here at the egg-shaped oval, and you get a good overview of this track. Very beautiful track, and you can see, if you just glance just a little bit up in that top left-hand corner there on that shot, you can see the minnow pond that Chris was talking about earlier. And boy, if that minnow pond was removed, I just wonder how we'd feel about Darlington today, because it would kind of be shaped like Dover in a way, or old Atlanta. But luckily for us, it is certainly a unique track, because we got drivers out on the board right now for qualifying. Chris, how are these drivers going to attack this track here in qualifying? Is it about getting the best lap, or is it about staying off the wall so you don't get a 1X and invalidate your time?
It's a little bit of a yes and. This track is known for reaching out and grabbing you, specifically because you need to be loose here to be fast. And on a qualifying lap, that means you've got to be even more outside of your comfort zone than you would in your race trim. So these guys are going to do whatever it takes to be able to keep it off the wall. A lot of guys are electing to stay about a car length below the wall in qualifying, and it'll be interesting to see how that works out for them, because it's not the preferred line around here.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, we do only have 40 drivers, which is a great field, but that means nobody is going to go home tonight, as the limit on the series is 40 drivers exactly. And we see Jeff Winter, last week's winner, coming around. He is going to make his first lap here. And after that lap, he is going to go P number 5. So you see he's got some speed, Chris, and you see him just get right up against that wall. And the key is you want to use, I might have got the wall. That might invalidate this lap. But you see just how much these guys are on edge just here in qualifying.
They certainly are, and I think you're right that Jeff Winter's second lap did not actually count for him.
And he smacks the wall.
That is going to hurt him. He's already lost 1 spot because of it. Usually here, your first lap is your faster one, but that's never a guarantee.
We got a lot of throwbacks, as you see Richie Coy coming to the line here. A lot of throwbacks, and we're going to talk about all of them here tonight, because there's a lot of drivers running throwbacks out there tonight. As you see right now, Brody Hanna on track. He has just finished his lap up, or got loose, but making a return to the series. Glad to see him out here. TJ Bartel has taken some time off from the Cup Series. He is returning for the number 88, driving a Chevy. He's usually in a Ford, but he's joined with Wayne Grassi Racing, and it'll be interesting to see how one of the previous champions in the Truck Series gets on here in the Cup Series here tonight in his season debut, if you will. His teammate Mike Watts out there right now turning some laps. He is in a throwback Dale Earnhardt scheme. It looks like everybody's completed their laps, so I'm trying to find somebody that hasn't. Matt Geringer, he's driving a Ricky Craven throwback. That's a historical car at this track, Chris.
It certainly is. Looks like the only guy that I see on the track is Bobby Terrell, and he's coming to finish his lap right now.
Matt Geringer actually just starting his lap. Yeah, just starting his lap. So here we go. We also got Tracy Powers. He's running a Rob Moroso throwback, that number 45. He hits the wall, so he's either got to reset or have that lap invalidated. But looks like we got Bobby Terrell out there as well. Matt Geringer is trying to finish his lap up. So he is just starting his lap. So apologies. No, he goes, he is on the board in 34th position. So he's doing his second lap right now. Tracy Powers, his teammate, also on track. We got 3 drivers that are not taking times right now. That's Case McMullen, James Torrey, and Randall Ballard. Like I said, everybody's going to make the field. They don't have to race their way in tonight. Kind of takes some of that pressure off so they can start out back if they want to do that tonight.
And Tracy Powers in that number 45 machine ended up losing it coming to the line, so his second lap did not count as well.
Matt Geringer will go P27 on his lap as he is the last driver to put a lap in here at Darlington right now. And Chris, we look at the race information for this track, and as we're having a little bit of a problem with SDK here. So just bear with me for just a second.
Jared, while you get that going, looking at the track information, looks like it's 86 degrees outside, which makes for 105-degree track temperature, 38% humidity, and winds out of the northwest for 11 miles an hour. This track has a little bit different banking to it, as we talked about. Turns 1 and 2 are 25 degrees, turns 3 and 4 are 23 degrees, front stretch 3 degrees, and backstretch 2 degrees. It is a 1.31 mile track with an altitude of 157 feet, and it's a fun track, but it's definitely a difficult one.
Exactly right, Chris. Still trying to get SDK to come back up here, so give me 1 second here, guys.
Watching our field take the green, or not the green, get to the grid to prepare for tonight's race. Starting on your pole will be Dean Doucet in the number 29 truck. Behind him, or beside him rather, Brian Helm in the 26. Then Bobby Terrell starting third. 4th, Troy Torgerson. 5th, Jeff Chandler. 6th, Lane Allen. 7th, Del Nerad. 8th, Richie Coy. 9th, Andrew Polinsky. 10th, Jeff Winter. That rounds up your top 5 pros.
Still working on getting this thing going again here.
All right, man. Light you back on
Fantastic.
The
We'll keep on going then. 11th is going to be Randy McCanney in that number 6 car. And 12th will be Bernard Pearson in his number 8. The 13th position goes to Brody Hanna in that 23 car. TJ Bartel in the 14th position, Mike Watts in 15th, 16th Wayne Grassi, John Held in 17th and 18th Kenneth Schultz, 19th Rachel Hunt, and 20th Kevin Rupert.
So we just had a little bit of an error come up on the SDK program. Decided not to cooperate with us, but we're going to get going here in just a moment. Chris, thank you for going through that lineup for us here. And we will have this thing going in no time here in just a minute.
while you're working on that, we'll finish out the rest of the field. 21st, Chad Lane, Jeff Bratton in the 22nd position. Stephen Ruman, 23rd. 24th is Jared Speer. 25th, Tracy Powers. 26th, Bill Benedict III. 27th, Matthew Geringer. 28th, Josh Mayhew. 29th, Gary Griffith. Brian Bliss in 30th. 31st is Sherwood Williford. 32, Paul Sargent. 33, Roy Collins. Gil Gawk in 34th. 35th, Rob Shoemaker. 36th, Chris Beck. And finishing out your field, Tony Solari in the 37th. 38th will be Randall Ballard. James Torrey in the 39th. And Casey McMullen in the 71 is going to be in 40th.
Thanks for that, Chris. We just had a little bit of an issue. For some reason, it was not loading up the browser data that we pull in. But we did get that going again. Had to reset it, but we're all good. As you see the grid scroll across the screen right now as Chris read through them all. So I appreciate that, Chris. And we are about ready to get it started. Dean Doucet in the 29. Brian Helm in the 26 will lead him off. Pace car is down, makes the left-hand turn to pit road. And we are about ready to start the Darlington 200 here at Darlington Raceway.
Green flag, green flag.
And green flag is out here at Darlington.
And he got a great jump on that inside lane. Go ahead and clearing Brian Helm on the outside. And they'll get single file with 1, 2, and 3 single file. But behind them, side by side still. Well, I said that when they got single file on.
Single file behind Dean Doucet. And he's going to lead the first lap going into the turn. Everybody else kind of getting in there too, Chris. And you see it already single file throughout the whole front of this field.
They realize now that this is only lap 2 of a 146 lap race. They need to be a little bit patient because, as we all know, Darlington is a wall that is known for guys getting out into that wall. So take it easy here. Figure out how your car is going to handle. It's a little bit different than what it felt like in your qualifying trim. So you got to be able to ease into it and work your way up towards that wall the later the race goes.
Look all the way back. Our first battle on track was Jason Speer going underneath Matt Geringer. That's a battle for 25th. We look a little bit further back. Paul Sargent going back in that number 49. But everybody else single filed out already, Chris, and this is what you're talking about. This is such a treacherous turn number 1 that it really makes sense to kind of get single file as quickly as you can, and then you start racing the track here at Darlington, as a lot of drivers say they'd like to do more than race other drivers. Four laps into the race here, and Chris, you look at these guys. Brian Helm and Dean Doucet have already opened up a second gap on Bobby Terrell behind him.
Certainly has, and the idea here is to get away while you can. One thing that we saw that is a little bit different in this race than in our actual cup race for the NASCAR Cup Series is these guys aren't pulling necessarily away from one another at the very beginning, whereas in the Cup Series race, we almost had 2-3 cars that were just gone from the rest of the field. He certainly is, and Helm doesn't want Doucet to get too far away from him. Kind of keep him in his tracks there in eyesight so that way he can't get too far away. But one thing you mentioned, Jared, is that a couple of these guys have some seat time leading up into this race, and that's a big help. We heard a little bit from different drivers in the Cup Series that talk about how much they feel like they benefit from just watching a race that's before theirs. So to be able to actually jump in and race another series, it just helps you get into a rhythm.
And we did have an incident, Chris, and we're going to get it. It did not bring out a caution, but it's the 85 of Gil Gawk. We're going to get a quick replay on that. So you see Gil Gach in that Bobby Allison throwback that Tony Stewart ran a few years ago. He's running, it looks like around 20-something position, and he gets loose off turn 4, smacks the inside wall, but keeps going, and that's why a caution did not come out for the 85. Back up front, Dean Doucet continuing to lead, and this field is getting more and more spread out. Let's bring up that track map real quick, and you look at it. Dean Doucet is in turn number 1, turn number 2. Our 39th place driver is just now going into turn number 3. So it's not going to be too long, Chris. We're talking probably about 10 to 15 laps before those back of the pack guys going to start seeing the leader in their mirror.
They certainly are, and that'll be one thing that we'll have to keep an eye on, is just watching how these guys get around. I mean, at this point, you got guys up in the back that are almost 3/4 of a lap down, and we're only on lap 10.
Lap 10 of 146 here tonight at Darlington, and it's going to be a great little event here. We look back further in the field, not many people moving up, but somebody that's moving down is Jeff Chandler. Chris, he led a lot of laps in the truck race, but that driver started in 5th place. He has dropped all the way back to 13th position.
Well, and you mentioned it that the truck race was at night, and so this is during the day here, so a lot different track conditions, as this one will be a lot more slippery than that truck race was.
A lot more slick, and Chris, that's the other thing we got to talk about. You mentioned the weather earlier, and it's already kind of changed up just a little bit as we bring up our weather vane. It is now 86 degrees. Air temperature, 108 tracks. The track temperature, I believe, has gone up a couple of degrees.
It certainly has, and all that's going to do is continue to make these tires and cars feel like their own edge. And that's not going to be good news for these guys that are already struggling early on, like Jeff Chandler in that number 31.
Other driver dropping back is Mike Watts. This is his second race. He only got to do about 10 or 15 laps at Kansas, but Mike Watts driving the sports car series, coming over driving the Cup Series for Wayne Grossi Racing in that number 3 throwback to Dale Earnhardt. We don't need any introduction about this paint scheme, but unfortunately that number 3 car going backwards right now. He has dropped 5 positions back to 20th place. Could be another situation, Chris, where he might be saving his stuff, but it also could be maybe the track conditions just not favoring him right now.
Absolutely, that could be the issue. And you can kind of see guys that are comfortable with their car because they're getting up closer to that wall like we talked about already early in this race, whereas guys that are a little bit less comfortable, they're taking a little bit lower approach around these corners.
Well, a couple drivers, Chris, that might not be comfortable. First one, Dale Nearad. Now, Dale Nearad running that throwback to Rob Piermek, a Iowa driver, and he is local to Iowa, Dale Nearad, but he has dropped 21 spots. He started 7th, and he was one of those drivers that kind of pulled down at the start. You see Sherrod Williford right in front of him, battling with Matt Geringer. Dale Nearad, third place point man, has dropped 21 positions on the start here, Chris. Is that a strategy move, or did he just miss something already?
I think it was a bit of both. I'm pretty certain that he actually got loose coming out of the corner, and while he was already down there, he decided just to let people go by.
That could be it, and we'll have to keep an eye on that story. The other driver that's dropped back a lot, Andrew Politsky, and Andrew running an awesome throwback to his dad, who drove a Bomber Series, which are basically street stocks in a way. Throwing back to his dad's paint scheme, I think that's really awesome for nostalgia purposes in that 96. But Andrew Politsky, Andrew, dropping back 25 spots after qualifying 9th. He is in 34th position right now. Back up front, Dean Doucet has opened the lead up to 1 second here on the track over Brian Helm. So that gap, it was decreasing. Now it's increasing quite a bit. Everybody else is kind of stagnated, but Dean Doucet starting to run away with this thing already.
He certainly is with the 1 second lead over Brian Helm, but Helm's not really, they're kind of keeping even with one another the last couple of laps. One of them would be about 6 to 7 hundredths faster than the other, but unfortunately Brian Helm seems to be the one on the losing end of that lap time.
And you saw maybe on that screen there, Gil Gach excluded, but 39th place Tony Solari, James Torrey, Rob Shoemaker, all within about probably 4 to 5 laps of having Dean Doucet right in their mirror.
And that's not good news here, because if we continue this trend of long green flag runs, it's going to be almost impossible to be able to get those laps back. And that's not where you want to be going with 20 laps into this race.
And Chris, if you're one of these guys back here, Tony Solari, James Torrey, Rob Shoemaker, Brian Bliss, Randall Ballard, Paul Sargent, you're starting to see the leader on your relative starting to get closer. How do you start to react? Because you don't want to go a lap down 20 laps into the race, but you also don't want to race the leader to stay on that lead lap and hope for a caution that might not even come out.
Well, I don't know if you're still showing the track mount, but if you look at the times, you can literally see that the drivers that are up in the top 8, they're spread out. Everyone else, there's groups and clusters of these guys just trying to better themselves in their position, and that's really what these guys have to do. They have to fight for every inch of real estate on this track to be able to get further up and get as many guys behind them or in between them and the leader as possible.
And 2 of those drivers that were right in front of Dean, as you see at the bottom of our pit stop monitor, James Torrey and Tony Solari in the pits early in the race. Those guys both getting pit stops in, and James Torrey maybe with some issues as his car has gone to the garage in that number 2 already here in the race, which is unfortunate for James here tonight. But Dean Doucet continuing to lead. And Chris, I bring up that track map, and you have a very good point. The first place driver by himself, second place driver by himself, third and fourth are battling on the track. That's Bobby Terrell and Troy Torgerson. And then, you have another little gap back to 5th through 9th, and then 10th, 11th, 12th by themselves. But 13th, all the way back to pretty much 37th on the track, is kind of one big group.
Well, and they have to be. I mean, at this point, if you know the leader's coming, the best thing for you to do is you can't hold back at this point. You don't want to be stuck behind and just get caught by the leader. I mean, it's little over 20 laps in this race, and there's a long way to go. There's plenty of other opportunities for you to attempt to make up a lap, but if it stays green, there's also the chance that you could go multiple laps down.
And we got a shout out from Steve Loomis watching as he is not able to race tonight. Shouting on the Blackwater group of Blackwater, Faster, and Steve Berry Racing. So good to see him out there in the chat. Focus in on the 3rd place battle. Troy Torgerson has been catching Bobby Terrell, but Chris, even with this low downforce package, catching and passing at Darlington, it doesn't matter what package it is, it's still Darlington and still difficult.
It certainly is, and it's one of those tracks that you have to kind of overdrive a corner just to be able to get alongside another person as the run goes later and later. But if you're able to do it, you can slide up in front of them and kind of stall their momentum, get them out of the gas, and make your way closer towards the front. And that's what we're going to have to watch to see if that number 98 can make that happen.
Troy Torgerson, that beautiful throwback to Rusty Wallace's 1995-96 paint scheme there, running in 4th place. And like we said, he finished 3rd in the Xfinity race. And if you heard my little broadcast earlier today, he was extremely good in that Xfinity race and really was battling Richie Coy. He got loose toward the end of that race, and I was able to pass him for 2nd, but by no means was I the 2nd best car on the track. Troy Torgerson was very good, and I think he finished in the top 5 in the truck race as well. And tonight, just kind of biding his time and in 4th place. He's my dark horse pick, Chris, and doing a good job there in 4th place. We look a little bit further back, 5th, 6th, 7th, 3rd, these guys all on the track together. We got Jeff Winter, who won last week. He's moved up to 5th place after starting 10th. He's brought Randy McCanny with him, who started right behind him in 11th. He's 6th, and Bernard Person, who started 12th, has also moved up 5 positions. So we got 3 drivers moving forward here, Chris, and they're all veterans.
They certainly are, and out of those guys, we talk about how a couple of them need good finishes, and Bernard Person and that number 8 is one of them that just hasn't had quite a lot of luck. We talked about it a couple races ago, but he's got to work his way back up into victory lane, your last season championship winner.
And Chris, he's one of the drivers we talked about. He is the only other winner besides Dean Doucet at this Darlington track. So we know he can get it done, although Dean Doucet has led 60% of the laps he's completed, if you can believe that, at this track. And he's completed all the laps. Bernard Person did end up winning. Oh, he gets into the wall a little bit there. That's going to allow TJ Bartel, who's up at 8th spot, moving up 6 positions in his season debut in that number 88. Beautiful paint. And Chris, I know this isn't a throwback, but it kind of reminds me of that Tony Stewart number 44 paint, if you know what I'm talking about, from back in the early 90s when he was making a switch over to NASCAR.
I definitely thought that it was. So I'm a little caught off guard, but it is a gorgeous scheme.
It could be. It just wasn't announced as a throwback, but it looked very similar to that paint. TJ Bartel can get it done in the Cup Series, and he is running that a little bit different line than Bernard Person, continuing to move forward in that number 88. And then right behind him, Brody Hannon, who's got something going, up 4 positions into 9th place. Wayne Grossi, those Grossi guys are doing really good. Wayne in 10th, and Bobby Terrell in 4th, and TJ Bartel in 8th.
And it's curious to see as I look through the field here, not a lot of guys have a Darlington stripe yet, so they're definitely taking it easy here early going.
Yeah, they are. And I'll tell you what, Dean Doucet has set sail. Let's pick up on the leader right now. Dean Doucet has set sail. That gap is almost up to 4 seconds over Brian Helm. In fact, Brian Helm is being caught by Troy Torgerson, who has been able to get around Bobby Terrell. So right now, the battle on the track is basically for second place between Torgerson, Helm, and Bobby Terrell.
Well, I'd venture to say that the battle here is actually for 28th on back to try to get themselves away from our leader.
Yeah, let's look back in here, Chris, because, I mean, these guys, as you look, we'll bring up our battle box, and what we're going to do is actually show the relative drivers on the track to Dean Doucet. So Dean Doucet is in the lead, but look at who he's put a lap down. He's put down Roy Collins, who's in 33rd right now. He's got Andrew Politsky next. He's in 32nd. Andrew's going to let him go. And then he's got Rob Shoemaker in 31st. And there's quite a bit of distance to Rob Shoemaker. But if you look at Rob Shoemaker all the way up to about 13th, so 31st to about 13th, all separated within about 2 seconds. So Dean Doucet's going to have some drivers he's going to have to get through.
And that will present an opportunity for Brian Helm and Troy Torgerson to close in on that lead position, because one thing that's going to be hard right now is none of these guys want to get past. They all want to be able to stay on the lead lap, because that gives them the best opportunity to be able to actually compete here for a good finish.
Exactly right. And we got some drivers out there in the chat. Steve Loomis in the chat here tonight. We were talking with him. And we also got Pepto Joe Flanagan out here watching. Joe was asking what happened to Richie. He got loose off the turn and lost some spots. Do not see that he made any contact with the wall, but we do have a quick instant replay of Jeff Bratton in that number 55. Looks like he had a little issue. Did not cause a caution, though. And Jeff Bratton down the bottom. And the 55 car, he looks like he's heading to pit road. And this is a very daunting pit road, and it can sneak up on you. And basically what happened here is Jeff Bratton didn't realize the pit road was right there, and he actually locked up the brakes and actually looks like he might have just called it quits. It looked like he'd been in the wall, but Jeff Bratton out right now in pit road getting some damage repaired. Back up front, though, we see that battle box. Again, Dean Doucet catching to Rob Shoemaker very quickly. So 31 drivers on the lead lap here, 34 laps in. Gilgock is out of the race. James Torrey's out of the race. Tony Solari is on pit road with damage. Brian Bliss, I believe, is also out of the race. And Jeff Bratton is out of the race right now. So we've gotten a couple retirees already in this event. That leaves us with 37 drivers on the track right now.
And it is still Dean Doucet up at the front. He's got about a 4.3 second lead over second place, and at this point he's just doing his best to conserve and really just run his race. And right now he's doing his race a little bit faster than everyone else.
And Chris, you know, we talk about this race, 36 laps into it. We're about halfway, a little past halfway of the fuel run here. We're expecting somewhere between 60 and 65 per lap. But you look at these guys, and I have to wonder, you know, do you look at Darlington? There are 5 winners this season that are in the top 10 right now in running order. This track really favors drivers that can take care of their equipment. And usually if you're a winner, you could take care of your equipment.
Certainly, as Dean Doucet passes Bill Benedict, and as he was getting ready to pass him, Bill Benedict actually had gotten into the wall pretty hard. That's another thing you have to worry about as you're going through these lap cars. You not only do you have to maintain your own car, but also keep an eye out for someone who's got an ill-handling car that has fallen victim to almost going a lap down, like we saw there.
And Bill Benedict coming off a career finish last week, 3rd place at Kansas, but that number 90 machine, it is a Bobby Labonte throwback like you talked about last week, Chris, but this is not technically a throwback because he runs this paint every week, but it is a Bobby Labonte homage paint in that number 90, but not having a great night here. 31st position, 1 lap down. Rob Shoemaker, the next driver up to go a lap down. He is in 30th place. Now, he has moved up 5 positions, but Chris, look in front of this. Where is Dean Doucet going to go? This is where it's going to get difficult for that 29. There is about 15 cars in this group from Rob Shoemaker all the way up to about Kevin Rupert and Tracy Powers. And Dale Nearad is in there too.
I don't know that there's a safe place to go if you're the leader getting through these guys, but you're going to have to see some guys are going to give a little bit more than others, as you see right there, but they're going to start racing too wide in front of him here just to prevent that them from going a lap down, because like I said, it's going to be pretty treacherous to get through these guys.
Well, Chris, you saw Dale Nearad, who is not having a night, not having a good race at all for Dale Nearad. I think by his own admission, he would say that he is going to go a lap down. Now, Rob Shoemaker is the next guy up, and these guys are all fighting kind of to stay where they're at because they don't want to go a lap down. Because if a caution comes out, they want to be on the lead lap. They don't want to have to take that wave around. Rob Shoemaker's trying to hold on, and Dean Doucet's going to force the issue just a little bit. 66 gets in the wall. No hard contact, but Dean Doucet's going to go ahead and get around him.
He certainly is, and you mentioned it, that they don't want to be trapped a lap down, and then as the leader starts to pass, ooh, big incident in front of our leader.
And that's Casey McMullen in the 71. And you just caught it on our screen there. He got up in the wall, looked like, Chris. Maybe you can give a better recap of what happened there.
It looks like he got a little help. They were trying to go side by side there, the 83 machine and the 71, and they were fighting to get side by side to move themselves up, and one of them got moved a little bit higher up.
And let's see if we can get a replay of that accident or incident. I wouldn't call it an accident, but... So you see here, we're on board Randall Ballard. You're going to look out in front. So Casey McMullen, our point leader, there he is on the outside there. And he's going to drive down the inside. He's underneath Jason Speer, who gets in the wall, comes down into the 71. And that is a tough break for our point leader, who's going to go a lap down because of that incident. But the 83 got in the wall, came down. The 71 was there. I don't think anything could really be done differently there, except maybe the 83 not getting in the wall. But tough break for the 71 of Casey McMullen. That Dave Marcus throwback, not bringing him a lot of luck tonight. 31st position for that 71. Jason Speer goes a lap down. So we have 26 drivers on the lead lap. We're about 20 laps from pit stops. And Chris, we talked about this race being the first race of the playoffs. This is a 200-mile race. When we do the playoffs, it's a 250-mile race. Can you still take something from this race and kind of figure out what you're going to do in the fall when we come back here? Or is it because the race length is so much different that you're not really going to be able to glean too much?
Well, the race length may be a little bit different, but the fuel windows are going to be basically the same. And that's really what's going to determine things a bit, because you want to set your car up to be able to make it on a full-length run. And just because of how this race is going, if you're going to have long green flags right now, I imagine you're going to see the same thing in that playoff race. So you got to do whatever you can to make your car faster on these long runs.
Now things are getting dicey for Dean Doucet as you got Chris Beck in front of him in his new look machine, totally different. I know that car, but Chris, maybe you can help me out. That is Bordeaux's butt paste, and I can't remember who ran that car, but it's a very famous paint scheme.
You know, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I will find out.
Gary Griffith in the wall in front of our race leaders. This is tough for these drivers out here. For those watching at home, I mean, your 25th position, you don't want to go a lap down 46 laps in the race. You just don't want to do that. And they're fighting tooth and nail, but Dean Doucet is just ticking off at a pace. But because of that, because of Dean Doucet getting in this lap traffic, Troy Torgerson is starting to close that gap down and close it down in a hurry. That gap has gone from 4.9 seconds 10 laps ago down to 1.5 seconds. The 98 is coming, and he's bringing the 26 with him. Richie Coy going a lap down. "23 drivers on the lead lap." Gary Griffith, the last of those drivers. Dean Doucet, Chris, you know, I know you're looking at Bordeaux's butt pace, but man, I know you watched the race yesterday, the real life race. Doesn't he remind you of Martin Truex just going out here and just dominating right now?
Absolutely. I mean, and you know, his car number's only 10 digits away from Martin Truex, but he's certainly putting up the times and the dominance here of Martin Truex Jr. And behind them, Brian Helm has given away that second and now third position and seems to be falling back. But yeah, looking at the Bordeaux butt pace, actually the car most recently that ran it was the number 98 of Josh Wise, and it was funded through Dogecoin. But that's not the original one. That's just the most recent one.
There you go. I think it's from the 90s, but I don't know anyway. But man, Dean Doucet getting in there. Chris Beck trying to stay on the lead lap. He's not going to be able to do it. And then you have right in front of Dean Doucet a couple teammates of him. Josh Mayu in the 51. He's not going to give him too much of a Josh Mayu lets off, but he was battling with Mike Watts. And that could have been really precarious for Dean, as Chris Beck is going to take advantage of that position and move past. That's what you do right there, Chris. You move past the drivers when you have an opportunity to, when the leader gets underneath of them like that.
Absolutely, and as this leader, the leader's kind of paving the way for the next car behind them. So at this point, if you're the first car a lap down, you want to stay right there with the leader, because the leader's going to be able to get through this traffic a little bit better than you are. And we have some people taking this opportunity to go ahead and pit. Yeah,
second place, Troy Torgerson is in. Randy McCanney, Kenneth Schultz, Kevin Rupert, all in. Mike Watts, Vrooman, Lang, Jason Speer, Dale Narad, all in pits, along with Bobby Terrell, Bernard Person, and Jeff Chandler. Now, they can make 67 laps on fuel, but that doesn't really matter because they cannot make a two-stop race out of this, or a one-stop race out of this event with the way the fuel is going to go. So you're basically looking at dividing this race up, pitting on lap 50, pitting on lap 100, and going to the end. Or you could stretch it out and you know, cut down your mileage. But right now, a lot of drivers already pitting. We saw in the truck race on Wednesday night, Brody Hanna was a driver that stayed out the longest and ended up leading some laps, had the freshest tires at the end, just didn't have enough time to get back up there. But Brody Hanna and Dean Doucet leading the way on drivers that haven't pitted. But Chris, how long can you stay out here like this?
Well, it's really going to be determined by the guys that just pitted. If they're able to get out and run quicker times than you by short pitting on you and make up time, you don't want to lose a lot of time to those guys. So it's going to force you to come in and pit with everyone else.
I thought I saw somebody on the apron, but I didn't get a good look at it in turn number 1. It looks like they've got that thing going again. TJ Bartel, Sherwood Williford, Jeff Winter, and the leader is in. Dean Doucet is heading to pit road. This is a tough pit entry. You have to keep it easy because you don't want to speed and you don't want to hit that commitment cone because it's way out there on the right-hand side. Dean Doucet looks like he handled that perfectly. And that's going to turn the lead over to Brody Hanna unless he comes in. Nope, Brody Hanna's staying out. He's getting around, getting passed by a couple drivers on fresh tires, Lane Allen and Chad Lang. But now, Chris, how long does Brody Hanna stay out? Do you stay out till you run out of fuel, which would be about 60 to 65 laps?
Well, you mentioned that Brody Hanna tried this in the Truck Series race, and it didn't prevail for him. So at this point, I bet he's just going to run this one lap to try to get that bonus point for leading the lap and then come back in. Remember, he's 25th in points.
He's right on the edge, but he does have that win. and he is definitely running faster than some of these other drivers. So maybe it's a good opportunity to gamble on some stuff. As you see, Tracy Powers, Stephen Vrooman, and Sure Williford all on fresh tires trying to get underneath Brody Hanna and trying to get their laps back the old school way. That's going to move Josh Mayu up to second place and his teammate Casey Mullen. Josh Mayu, one of those drivers that, Casey Mullen, one of those drivers that always plays the fuel strategy game. And with that contact, you think maybe he's going to have to do something a little bit different. He is the point leader, but yet he hasn't won yet this season and having a rough night of it here at Darlington. These two drivers in the Blackwire Products organization, if you will, looking for good runs. And I think Casey Mullen's probably hoping Brody Hanna would pit by now to pick up some bonus points.
Absolutely, and at this point, Brody Hanna may know that and is just planning to stay out as long as possible to prevent that. But looking at it, when this all cycles through, Dean Doucet is not going to be the leader.
It looks like Troy Torgerson's going to be the leader. And you look here, I mean, Stephen Vrooman, Mike Watts, Randy McCanney, all trying to get around Bobby Terrell, Gary Griffith. There is a line behind Brody Hanna. It shows you just how much new tires mean. Brody Hanna really had to get out of the gas there as those guys got around. So those guys back on the lead lap. That is going to give us 7 drivers on the lead lap, Bobby Terrell being the last of those. Dean Doucet, the first driver, 1 lap down. Dean Doucet closing in right now on the 23. As you see Chris Beck going underneath Brody Hanna to get his lap back. Dean Doucet's also going to get his lap back as well. Josh Mayu has given up on the game. He has gone to pit road, as has Casey Mullen still out there, hanging strong. But he has lost second place to Brian Helm, who will be our race leader when this is all said and done.
And that's the idea with that short pitting. They were able to get in, get out, and make up a lot of time on Dean Doucet. And this is really going to hurt Doucet.
And let's look at that pit lane time. If you guys look down here, Brian Helm, 42.2. Troy Torgerson, at 51.9. So what these times are telling you. So you look at it, Brian Helm, from the time he actually got from the cone on pit road to the time he completed the next lap, it was 42.2 seconds. He had a 9-second advantage. A 9-second advantage on everybody else. Chris, it makes me wonder if he didn't fill up the tank, number one, or two, did he go for 2 tires?
If he did, I can guarantee you it was a mistake.
So, I mean, you're looking at a 42.23 second lap pit lane time. But if you flip that over and you look down here in the bottom right-hand corner, if you look at the pit stop time, you will see that the pit stop times are pretty much identical. 14.7 for Helm, 14.4 for Torgerson, 14.6 for McCanney, 15 for Terrell, 14.9 for Doucet, 15.1 for Person. So the difference, it looks like Brian Helm just got on and off pit road much quicker than anybody else we've seen tonight, and he's got a 4-second lead over Troy Torgerson in the 98 because of it. Brody Hanna continuing.
Brody Hanna, you're losing so much time right now. There's no way that you're going to be able to make it up at this point, I don't think. I mean, you're getting close enough to where it's almost becoming dangerous to stay out here. Yeah, I mean, it's a gamble, but honestly, I don't know that it's possible. I mean, we kind of saw Ross Chastain try to do this in the actual race, and it didn't work out for him, and I just don't see it working out for Brody. He certainly is, and Brody's going to really should consider pitting at this point. I mean, I don't see that you could make it another 10 laps on this set of tires. I could be completely wrong as he smashes the wall again. It's dangerous at this point. And he's going to lose the lead going into the corner here. That's just the difference in the tires here. And at this point, even these guys have about 16 laps on those tires, some of them. So, you know, if they're still that fast right now, man, it's a tough one.
But I will say this. I like the call by Brody Hanna. You got to do something different. You have a win in your bank, and maybe you just don't feel like you have a winning car. And maybe if you feel like you could stay out all the race, you might be able to get a luck into a win. As Brody Hanna, something happened to that 20. Oh, he's letting cars go by, so that's why he's dropping down further on the moniker there. But I like the call. I mean, it's a tough. It's hard to hang on to that car, but he is bound and determined to make a one-stop race out of it. Nobody else is even coming close to trying it, Chris. And I applaud it, but my goodness, it's going to be a hard road for him if he doesn't make it at the end.
Well, and you can see just how loose he is throughout the entire racetrack. Even just on the straightaway, you can see that when he's trying to get into it, after he's letting cars
Oh, he wrecks it.
Oh.
He's wrecked. He spins across Randy McCanney, hard in the wall. The 23 is wrecked, and we got Dean Doucet involved. The 29 of Dean Doucet has ran nowhere to go, and the 29 has, I don't know, has gone to pit road. There he is. Oh, has reset to pit road. And the dominant car of the day, man, that is a tough situation.
Say about that. I mean, Brody's doing everything that he can to be able to make it here to the end, and to at least to make it to a pit stop. And the one good thing about this is that now all he's got to do is just make it around to pit road.
He does have quite a bit of damage. Let's take a look at that yellow flag and see what happened between the 23 and the 29. So you see there, well, this is not the right person, but we will get there. Brody Hanna, and let's take a look. Let's back this up. Let's start this again. There we go. Brody Hanna coming off turn 3. That car, I think he got loose because of the damage from getting in the wall. That car was not handling that bad until he gets into the wall on the straightaway in front of Troy Torgerson, comes down in front of Randy McCanney, hard impact, and just spins back across the track. And I can't believe more cars weren't involved. But Dean Doucet, massive damage. I believe, looking at that replay, I think that the engine gave up on impact, which is unbelievably difficult. Unbelievably difficult to be in that situation. Let's get an onboard view from Dean Doucet on this wreck. So here you go. There's Brody Hanna sliding across the track, hard impact, and he thinks he's going to make it, and he doesn't. And Steve Vrooman looks like he's going to slide through. Lane Allen's going to slide through. Nobody else getting any contact to that. But my goodness, Chris. The dominant car out of the race.
Certainly already a heartbreak for Dean Doucet, and really for Brody Hanna too. I mean, that's not exactly how you want to be remembered from this race. The one thing that'll end up doing though is that Brody was able to trap a lot of different drivers laps down because of his strategy.
Yeah, and let's take a look at that. You see it on our screen. Any driver that's in the minutes as it's rotating through right now, if they're a minute behind, guys like McMullen, Hunt, Williford, Powers, Speer, Nearad, Vrooman, those drivers are at the tail end of the lead lap. Coy, Shoemaker, Watts, Beck, Griffith, Allen, all those drivers are one lap down unless they take the wave around, which has its pros and cons because everybody that's on the lead lap, they didn't take the wave, don't need to take the wave around, I should say. They have come in and gotten their pits done, and that means the top 14 are all on the lead lap with fresh tires, where everybody else is going to have to stay out on those old tires just to get back on the lead lap.
It's certainly a risk. What these guys are really hoping for is that we'll start, we'll have a restart here and then immediately get into a caution again. That'll give them the opportunity to go back down as a lead lap car and get fresh tires here. So a little bit of strategy from those guys trying to better their laps and or better their race.
Yeah, all these drivers. So right now, if you see on the screen, Brian Helm, he is the race leader. All those drivers in front of him. Dale Nearad, Jason Speer, those guys all looking to get their lap back on the wave around here. And Chris, accidents happen. It's a tough situation, and it just looked like maybe that damage caught up to Brody Hanna there. Maybe the old tires. We don't know. But at the end of the day, Dean Doucet, the driver that's going to get collected up in that accident, Brody Hanna's going to drop to 31st on the pylon right now. Dean Doucet to 33rd. As those two drivers are not going to probably be able to get back out there and gain too many more positions. But we flip this thing over. The race goes on. Brian Helm and Troy Torgerson are your top two. We haven't seen Troy this close to the lead. He's already been able to pass the 26 machine in the race at points. And then you have Randy McCanny, Bobby Terrell, TJ Bartel, Jeff Winter, Wayne Grossi, Jeff Chandler, Kenneth Schultz making an appearance in the top 10, and Bernard Persson are your top 10. A big difference now with this restart, Chris. Everybody gets a reset. What's going to happen now?
Well, at this point, these guys have had an opportunity to make some adjustments to their car with those two pit stops. So the guys are going to be able to really try to their best to race this track a little bit better because they've been able to make those adjustments. And so we talked about the 26 has been passed by Troy Torgerson in that number 98 car. So we'll have to watch and see if it's possible here again.
Pace car is about to make their way off, but a Toyota will lead two Fords, a Chevy, and a Ford. And Greens are back out here at Darlington 200. And Brian Helm with a great start down into turn number 1.
And he'll be able to clear Troy Torgerson pretty easily as the top 1, 2, 3, 4 get single file behind them side by side though.
Jeff Winter, TJ Bartel, Jeff Chandler, Wayne Grossi, Bernard Persson, all side by side going down the back straightaway right now, Chris. And that's where our battle is on the track as TJ Bartel's trying to hold off Jeff Chandler on the outside. Wayne Grossi is team owner right behind him. Bernard Persson also in the mix. Kenneth Schultz on the apron coming off the turn.
And at this point, these guys are doing whatever they can to go ahead and make up positions. We saw it earlier that the field got pretty spread out pretty quickly, and that just helped the guys fall victim to falling a lap down. So they don't want to have that issue right now. Wow, big wiggle back here. I think that was Wayne Grossi in the number 7.
On board Wayne Grossi as he looks ahead to Bernard Persson, our defending champion, and TJ Bartel, the newly signed teammate of his. And we got these drivers that got the wave around. They're already starting to fall back already. I mean, this is unbelievable. Look at the map. Look at these guys. They're already starting to drop off already toward the back of this field with the fresh tires. And that's going to might be a struggle for these guys. But looking at these drivers, Chris, our top 5, our top 10 has changed dramatically for the most part. Randy McCanny up 8 spots into 3rd place. And right behind him, Bobby Terrell fighting with a lap car. Chris Beck, I don't know how he's already back out in front of the leaders unless he maybe came out on pit road in front of them. I'm not sure, but the 44 there is 2 laps down.
Yeah, I think that was for a late pit strategy there for that machine. But up front, Brian Helm is kind of pulled away. He's got about a second lead on the second place car.
Well, Dean Doucet, and it's early days. We don't know what's going to happen in this race, but with Dean Doucet now pretty much out of this race, he's several laps down, getting repairs on pit road. The 29 machine has won twice at Darlington, and the other winner we've had is Bernard Persson. He's sitting in 8th place right now. Tonight could be a night that somebody etches their name on the Darlington Trophy that hasn't been there yet.
Absolutely, and that's what a whole field of basically 38 other drivers are looking to do. Some of them are already looking a little bit better for that than others. But you mentioned a whole different look to our top 10. And I'm going to venture to say that we're going to end up with a new winner in this series tonight.
And look at these guys in the top. The top two drivers, Helm and Torgerson, have not won in the Cup Series this year. Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, that's McCanny, Terrell, Chandler, and Winter, all have won at least one race. Winter has won two. And then 7th through 10th, Bartel, Person, Grossi, and Rupert have not won yet this year. So we've got 4 winners in the top 10. That means there's 6 drivers that haven't won yet. And Brian Helm leading that group right now over Troy Torgerson. And Troy Torgerson has been so strong over the last few weeks. Great run at Kansas. And now he's backing it up here again tonight with right now currently second place on the track.
And he's currently starting to reel in our leader. He was about a tenth quicker that last lap. So we'll have to see if he's able to pull up on Brian Helm in that number 26 machine.
See the gap this time by. It is up. It is about. It actually lost a little time. He's back up to a second. He's actually losing a little time. Randy McCanny starting to kind of close in on him in the 6 machine. Then Bobby Terrell, then Jeff Chandler, and then Jeff Winter.
Man, I love that number 6 throwback scheme up for Martin Martin and for, well, Randy McCanny of Martin Martin. That is a beautiful scheme.
I'm a little bit biased, but yes, I think it's a good paint. Randy, obviously, I field the cars for Randy there, but he is doing a great job here tonight, and paint scheme notwithstanding, but that 6 machine doing great on the track. Bobby Terrell trying to kind of gain back on him. Doesn't look like he has much in the bank right now, but we've just now gotten this thing going again. And we look further back, we got top 10. Kevin Rupert is in that Skull Bandit machine. That's a Harry Gant throwback. We didn't get him on our pre-race broadcast, if you will, or podcast, whatever you want to call it, of throwbacks. But Kevin Rupert, awesome throwback there in that number 1 machine, running 10th. Then we got John Held in 11th place, having a great night in that 12 machine. Kenneth Schultz in 13th. Chad Lang, another throwback. Chris, he's throwing back in that to Frederick Lorenzen in that car. He's got some lap traffic he's dealing with. Richie Coy, Lane Allen, Rob Shoemaker, those guys not on the lead lap. They're all 1 lap down, and Chad Lang's having to fight through them to get back up in front of these guys in battle for position.
He certainly is, but those guys aren't going to be easy to get around because they want to be in contention to get that lucky dog if we get another caution.
Richie Coy is going to let Chad Lang go there, so that's they're kind of in a way teammates working on the same stuff there. So Richie Coy is going to let him go, and right now Casey Mullen 14th. He is currently the last driver on the lead lap, technically, because he's not the last driver on the lead lap. Shouldn't say that. Casey Mullen is the last driver with fresh tires on the lead lap. 14th place. The top 14, all of them, those guys were able to get fresh tires under that pit stop. Rachel Hutt is the leading of the drivers that took the wave around, Chris, and she is way, way back. And if I'm not mistaken, she's heading to pit road right now, actually. The 16 is in. Yes, she is.
Yeah, interesting call here because this basically null and voids all of that wave around mess that she was trying to do here. So it'll be interesting to see. But looking at her lap times, she was falling off pretty bad. Not near as bad as some of the other guys, like Jason Speer, Dale Nearad, Tracy Powers, and Casey McMullen. Well, sorry, not Casey McMullen, but the other 3, they're losing time pretty quick to your leader.
Oh, and Gary Griffith gets loose off turn number 4. He's going to get that 12 car rolling again, but that could have been dangerous as well. And Gary Griffith is going to get that thing going again. Oh, he almost loses again trying to get back up on the track. That car has got a ton of damage, so when he spun off turn 4, he smacked the inside wall. And the 12 of Gary Griffith, after a great run last week, a top 5 run, he's just going to whipper his way around the track, if you will, to pit road, it looks like.
All right, man.
And caution's out.
Caution is out.
Caution is out. Rob Shoemaker has wrecked. Maybe Richie Coy involved. And we're going to wait here for 2 seconds to get this thing updated. Let's see what happened to these drivers. But Rob Shoemaker involved in that wreck, and you see him on the bottom. Oh my goodness, there's no clip on that car. We have a big wreck. So here we go. Lane Allen is there. Rob Shoemaker is here as well. They're going down into turn 3. Chad Lang is there as well. And it looks like, oh, the 14 comes up the track. The 66 is there. And oh my goodness, we have a driver that has flown outside the track. I think that's Richie Coy.
Certainly, Richie Coy is looking like an astronaut in this race, just in the wrong place at the right time, and he went up and over.
Here's another angle of that Richie Coy, the second white car on your screen there, right in ahead of you. You see Lane Allen comes up the track into Rob Shoemaker, and it's just a little contact, and Richie Coy literally has flown off to space in that 19. The engine has blown up on that machine, and now all of a sudden, the Fury Motorsports guys, it's gone from bad to worse as another driver. They're down to just one. They're down to 0 drivers in the race now. Tony Solari already out. Richie Coy likely done, and Brody Hannon with that massive impact. Tough night for Fury Motorsports, but this caution going to kind of reset things again, Chris. And that's great for these wave around drivers. Rachel Hunt, unfortunately, not so much, but Jason Speer, Andrew Politsky, Lane Allen, Mike Watts, all those guys are now able to go in and get some fresh rubber on that car.
Yeah, definitely a big sigh of relief from those guys, because this is exactly what they needed, as they were probably about another 10 laps from going a lap down again, and then having to try that whole strategy all over again. So this is great news for those drivers, but basically almost everyone decided to pit on this caution. The only person that looks like that did not was Tracy Powers.
And Tracy Powers is coming in now. I think he wanted that bonus point. He's going to get that bonus point, and that's crucial because he's in that realm of the top 25 where you have to qualify in on time. And you don't want to be one of those drivers where you're stressed about qualifying. So he is going to come in. He's got his lap, and he's going to make his pit now. Other drivers making pits. Roy Collins making a race tonight. Great to see the 62 machine out there in the Beer Cloud Auto Racing car. He is on pit road. Steven Vrooman with some damage from that last wreck. He's on pit road. But really status quo up top. Helm, Torgerson, McCanny, Terrell, Winter, Bartel, Person, Grossi, Held now in the top 10, and Kenneth Schultz in 10th right now, Chris. So not much of a change after the second caution.
No, not much of a change, but it will be interesting to see how these guys react, as now we've had a kind of a long run to start the race, and now we're getting into these middle runs. So they're a little bit shorter than that first initial run that we had, but it's still not cause to make too big of swings to your car to try to get to make big adjustments, because I still think we're going to end up with another long green flag run here.
Yeah, we had Jeff Chandler with a very long pit stop. I don't know if he got in the wall or something. We didn't see it. Definitely did not get involved in a wreck or anything like that, but a long pit stop for the 31. He is going to drop all the way back to 14th on this restart here. Two drivers going to take the wave around. That is Rachel Hunt and Chris Beck. So even though Rachel Hunt kind of mistimed that pit stop, she's still going to be able to get her lap back and has relatively fresh tires. So she shouldn't be hurting too bad for that.
Not at all, and that'll be good for her that she's got basically the same amount of laps on her tires, because she was basically not even off of pit road when that caution came out.
So right now, as things stand, we have about 11 drivers either out of the race or in the garage. Gil Gock is out. James Torrey. Tony Solari is in the garage. Brian Bliss is out. Jeff Bratton, Matt Geringer, Josh Mayu all out. Cheryl Williford in the garage along with Brody Hanna and Dean Doucet. Richie Coy in the garage. That leaves us with 29 drivers right now running. And of those 29 drivers, 18 on the lead lap as we're about ready to restart with 66 laps to go as I do some mental math on the fly. Helm and Torgerson will lead them down here in after our second caution. Pace car is down in a way. The flagman's got the flag out, and we are back to green at Darlington. And Troy Torgerson's going to battle for the lead here. And Torgerson is going to battle into turn number 1. And Brian Helm's going to prevail as Randy McCanny's going to let him in. But my goodness, we got some battling there now. Bernard Person on the inside of TJ Bartel as they come off turn 2. And I think we got Chris back now.
Yeah, it looks like we've got, I'm still hopping back in the server for some reason. I got kicked out, but these guys know that it's time to go, and they're acting like there's 20 laps to go rather than 60.
Yeah, we saw that the clouds have come out at Darlington now. So this track, let's take a look at our track temps right now here at this race as Bill Benedict comes in to serve a penalty. Track temp is down to 99 degrees, Chris, and we were up around 112 degrees at one point in time in this race, and now the grip is out to play. These guys going to start racing hard.
All right, man.
The caution's out again.
Caution is out.
And it might be Andrew Poliski. And he has spun, backed it into the fence, coming off turn 2.
Well, more grip means more problems on this track, as that means that other guys are going to start to get a better handle on their car, and that may have been the case right there.
Poliski spins it, holds onto it, smacks the wall, and then comes to a stop. It looks like there was the reason why caution came out, looks like there was a driver kind of around that same vicinity. Usually cautions don't come out for wrecks that far down the track, but I think there was a driver that maybe was exiting pit road that was down there, and the 96 will bring out that caution here on lap number 92. Chris, the other thing we got to talk about, these drivers have 2 sets of tires left in the bank. They've pitted 3 times so far. 2 sets of tires. You can make it on fuel from this point on. So from the last time on, actually, from lap 88 on when our last caution was out. When do you think about coming down and getting using one of those sets to end out the race if we do have another caution?
Well, at this point, I think these guys are going to wait at least here, just because they don't necessarily need them, and I may be completely wrong. It looks like everyone's tempting fate to come down.
Well, they're in turn 2 right now. Am I right? Yeah, they're in turn 2. I'm not sure why they're running the apron down there, except maybe to say, they got that's what it was. We have our lucky dog, Randall Ballard, going around. That is why those drivers dropped down to the apron there.
Oh, that makes sense. So, I mean, at this point, I'm going to save those tires as much as I possibly can, because I know what the fall off here is. I mean, we saw it with Brody Hanna when he was out there with those old tires, and really these cautions have kind of mixed things up in a way of it's regrouping all the field back together, but really it's kind of taking strategy out of this one.
Yeah, strategy game, unless we have another caution, pretty much out the door, but we were looking at right now 62 laps to go here tonight at Darlington. So this race starting to get to its conclusion, but Brian Helm and Troy Torgerson have been up front. Dean Doucet dominated the first part of the race. If you guys are just tuning in, Dean Doucet dominated the first part of the race, kind of had a bad pit stop, put him back to 7th. He was starting to move forward again. Brody Hanna elected to stay out on old tires, trying to make a one-stopper out of it. Got a little bit loose coming off turn 4 and made some contact. Unfortunately, Dean Doucet was caught up in it. That was our first caution. Second caution was for the Richie Coy flying to outer space due to some contact with another driver, the 66 of Rob Shoemaker. And then our third caution, which is what we're under right now, Andrew Poliski spins off turn number 2. And that is pretty much our race reset right now, Chris. And you're looking at these drivers. Is there somebody that you're kind of looking at that you think has an edge on the competition to get that W?
Well, right now, if I had to pick someone, I would say that it's going to be the number 26 of Brian Helm. Not necessarily because he has the fastest car, but because he has the track position. And if anyone else behind him is going to have an opportunity to take to lead away from him, it's going to happen on one of these restarts, or if we have a long green flag run when we're catching up on lap traffic here. So really, the track position is really going to work in favor of the 26 machine.
Yeah, 26. But we saw Troy Torgerson on that last restart. You know, a couple restarts before that, Troy Torgerson was like, I'll let you go, Brian. Let's all play nice. But that last restart, Troy Torgerson was going for it. He was going down to turn 1, knowing that he doesn't have very many more opportunities to maybe pass that 26 car. on the restart at least. We don't know how the race is going to transpire, but giving you a quick rundown, Helm is leading, Torgerson second, McCanny, Terrell, and Person are your top 5. So one of our previous winners has pushed their way up in there. Jeff Winter, Kenneth Schultz, TJ Bartel, Wayne Grossi, and John Held, your top 10. Rupert Chandler, Lang, Neerad, Speer, Tracy Powers, Andrew Poliski, Randall Ballard, your top 19. All those drivers on the lead lap. Lane Allen in 20th, 1 lap down as we're about ready to restart with 60 laps to go here at Darlington.
And the intensity is coming as they make their way around to the restart zone. We'll see if who gets the best jump off the restart here.
Side by side, Flagman.
Green flag, green flag.
And we're back under green at Darlington, and Troy Torgerson with another great restart. Drag race into turn 1. Helm is trying to hold him off on the inside.
Helm drives deep into turn 1. Going to do a little bit of a slide job to get back up in front of the 98 and retain that lead. And definitely powered through that corner. Oh,
McCanny
All right, man, caution
is
out.
up, and
Caution is
I
out.
thought he left the track. I thought he left the planet. Oh my goodness, the 6 car, the 3rd place driver has wrecked, and that is never a good sign. I don't know what happened to the 6, but it is a big one.
Cautions breed cautions, and that's what we're seeing there as Randy McCanny had a heck of a ride. And I think it was a little bit to do with the 5 car.
So the 6 car, here you see him. He's battling with Troy Torgerson. We were on this battle, but we just missed it right as they come off the corner when the camera switched. And we don't want to have that happen again. It looks like the 5 car might have stuck his nose in there. We'll have to get another replay of this. And Randy McCanny has flipped. I mean, he almost left the track. Let's get an onboard view from Bobby Terrell and see what happened from his perspective there. So here's Terrell. You see Troy Torgerson checking up there. McCanny trying to make a move down the inside. Torgerson fighting back. Bobby Terrell just gets a run off the corner a little bit. Oh, and McCanny got loose. And then it's just on from there. And looks like maybe John Held gets in there. I don't know who else is involved, but that is tough. When the 3rd place driver wrecks or an incident happens there, that's it.
Yeah, at that point you've got basically nowhere that you can go because the whole field is right there. Tough break for the number 6 getting loose, and we talked about the track was tightening up, but maybe he had made a couple of changes to his car to try to free it up on the start of the runs, and didn't seem to work out too well right then.
On board John Held, who is 10th, kind of taking it easy, letting these guys kind of play things out in front of him. He's by himself. And you see McCanny up in front of him, gets loose, and he flies up in the air. But right here, it looks like, Bobby Terrell just spins down in front of him. Tough impact from John Held. Also, somebody else is involved down here. It looks like the 91 of Kenneth Schultz might have gotten a little bit. Yeah, he got in the wall, too. Must have got clipped. We also got Casey McMullen involved. We got Kenneth Schultz. Jeff Winter might have gotten some damage there as well, Chris. And we're going to look at some replays, but, man, what a wreck.
Certainly a tough night for a couple of these guys that had worked their way up in the top 10 and not the night that they were hoping for.
Let's get an onboard look with Jeff Winter, the number 30 who won last week, got 2 wins in the bank. And you see up there in front of him, again, Randy McCanny, we've seen this happen a few times here, but this is where it happens. And yeah, definitely McCanny got loose, and then it looks like it's just chain reaction. Somebody gets into Winter, Winter gets into Bobby, then Dale Neerad's involved, Chad Lang's involved, Casey McMullen, Jason Speer, Steven Vrooman. Yeah, nowhere anybody can go at that point.
And that definitely caught a lot of different drivers in trouble there with some damage. Darlington kind of runs like a short track in a lot of ways, so it'll be interesting to see if any of these guys with damage are able to still be competitive. But all that did was help a couple drivers out. As we talked about, there's only 2 guys that actually have a win here at Darlington that were in the field tonight. One of them is now in 3rd.
Yeah, and we're on board Barnard Person, Chris, and I don't know if you can see it from your vantage point, but that front end looks pretty smashed up, and there looks like some damage on the right front on that number 8 car. I don't know if he realizes the damage. It looks pretty severe. But Bernard Person could be in a world of trouble if he doesn't get that fixed. In my opinion, it doesn't look cosmetic to me. It looks pretty big.
We'll have to watch on the restart here to see if he actually has the power to be able to even continue his race here tonight. It may be just a mere flesh wound, but it doesn't appear like it is.
Chad Lang also caught up in that wreck. Doesn't look as bad as Bernard Person. Does have some damage on that right front. Kevin Rupert, I apologize, with some damage on the rear end. I think he's had that all race. Jason Speer got some damage. So a lot of these drivers got damage, but we didn't see him come down pit road, which, I mean, at this point in time, 44 laps to go, 45 laps to go. Sometimes you just kind of make your bed and hope for the best.
Absolutely. A couple of these guys, well, we don't have to worry about Jason Speer overheating. He has nothing in front of that car to prevent it, but that may be the case for Bernard Person and that number 8.
So caution number 4, it was a big one. And now we're going to get ready to get restarted. It's Brian Helm and Troy Torgerson leading down. We got Bernard Person with some potential damage on number 8. We're not going to go green. It looks like there's some issues getting lined up back in toward the back of the pack.
And you could see the guys right there get all tensed up as they were getting ready to go, and then all suddenly they heard that they were not, and that made for a lot of tension right there in those guys, because they want to go racing here. They don't like pace laps any more than we do.
Exactly right. 43 laps to go here at Darlington. Brian Helm, Troy Torgerson leading. Bernard Person in third. TJ Bartell up to 4th place in his season debut. Wayne Grossi 5th. Kevin Rupert with a great run in 6th. Chad Lang, Jason Speer, Tracy Powers up to 9th, and Andrew Poliski in 10th. And Chris, I think it's easier for me to tell you how many drivers are on the track right now than drivers that are actually, well, we got some drivers that just came out pit road, so never mind, that have significant damage. Guys like Jeff Winter, Bill Benedict, Chris Beck with some damage coming out, Jeff Winter with some damage coming out. So we'll see what happens as the pace car. Going to try this one more time and get the restart going.
Green flag, green flag.
We're back underway at Darlington. Drag race again down to turn number 1.
Just a great start by those two, but it's going to be Brian Helm that takes the bottom groove through 1 and 2, and he's really able to drive that car in on these restarts.
Torgerson trying to hold up Bernard Person, contact through turn 2. They're going to hold on to it though. Going down the back straightaway, Bernard Person wants that 2nd place. Torgerson says no.
And you can see the 8 car there is real loose in the middle of the corner there, sliding up, and that almost causing an incident right there. Able to keep it going in the right direction after the contact, and Bernard Person not able to make that pass.
Torgerson holds on, and you wonder if that straightaway speed with that damage. I mean, Chris, I have to admit, that car doesn't look like it can be running up front, but Bernard Person is a wheelman, and he's holding on to that number 8 car right now.
Right now, his strategy is if it runs, run it as hard as you can. If it's going to blow, then that's a total different issue, as he's able to maintain 3rd. But right behind him, Wayne Grossi in that number 7 is right there.
Been trying to go for one of his best runs this season. Definitely his best run this season so far, but he was the runner-up in the points last year, in 2nd place to Bernard Person, and just hasn't gotten off to the season he's wanted. Running 4th, TJ Bartell in 5th, Rupert in 6th, Lang in 7th, Jason Speer with no front clip there in 8th place, Tracy Powers in 9th, and Jeff Chandler in 10th. And then we got Randall Ballard, who was 2 laps down at one point, Chris, up to 11th place in that number 56. Good run for Randall.
And it looks like Andrew Poliski.
Oh, it gets loose. Sorry, Chris. Randall Ballard nearly backed it into the fence. What were you going to say?
It looks like the number 96 car is actually blown up as he's heading down pit road.
So Andrew Poliski and his dad's throwback machine going to head to pit road. Steven Vrooman also down pit road right behind him. And Brian Helm leading, and he's opened up that gap to 1 second already, Chris, with 38 laps to go. The 26 car doesn't look like he's going to try to be denied tonight.
He certainly doesn't, but Troy Torgerson in that number 98 isn't trying to let him get too far away. He's able to make up a little bit of time in one set of corners, but loses in the next set. So got to figure out a new line if he's going to be able to catch our leader.
Torgerson in second place. He probably doesn't want another runner-up. But, Chris, you look at the table, or the standings, sorry, the top 8 have not won a race yet this year. And in that top 8, most of these drivers, except Bernard Person, haven't won very many races in Cup. Brian Helm, I think, has 1 Cup win to his credit. TJ Bartel has about 6 or 7 to his credit. But everybody else hasn't really won races as you look at Tracy Powers, Chad Lang, Kevin Rupert. Those guys haven't won a race in a while. And, man, we got an interesting little dynamic going on. But right now, Helm and Torgerson running ahead. And the battle for third is between Bernard Person and Grossi. And Chris, I got to say, Bernard Person holding on right now, despite that car looking pretty smashed up.
He certainly is. And a few laps ago, he actually got up into the wall again. And I think it made that car look better.
That car is pancaked on both sides. I mean, my goodness, hats off to Bernard Person, who is driving a wrecked race car, trying to hold on to a podium finish, which would ironically be his best finish of the season. So the defending champion not having a great year right now, but a third place could spark it. Wayne Grossi stalking him right now. Kevin Rupert has gotten around TJ Bartel for 5th, so put the Skull Bandit into 5th place.
That's a beautiful scheme on that number 1 machine. And just really trying to do whatever he can to be competitive here and work his way up. But right now, Helm, Torgerson, Person are your podium spots.
See in the background, Chad Lang going to let Jeff Chandler go ahead. That is for position, but Jeff Chandler with a lot fresher tires there. He pitted on that last stop. So Jeff Chandler continued to move up. He's got 1 win. Now he's out there. He's got to stay in the top 25. We know he's talked about it. He's going to miss every other race. So wins are what he needs, and a good point night too would help a long way to stay in that top 25. But he is outside the top 25 right now as that 31 car trying to chase down Rupert and Terrell and TJ Bartel, who are doing battle for 5th place. Up front, Brian Helm continuing to lead as we are down to 34 laps to go here in this race.
And I said it earlier, I think the 26 car had the best position just by being out front here. And if we go green, I don't know that the number 98 was going to be able to catch him.
It's lap traffic. Let's bring up the track map, and you'll see Brian Helm. He is on the back straightaway right now, so that is the top of your screen. He's got 22nd place right in front of him. That is right now Rob Shoemaker. And you look at this track map, there's cars all over the track. There's not hardly any open spaces. There's going to be some lap traffic that these leaders are going to have to deal with one way or another.
They certainly are, and we've seen how much that can affect these cars earlier. You know, when we saw Dale Nearad earlier, Dean Doucet earlier, when he was working his way through, he was able to maintain his lead over the 2nd place car, but it was a lot of action that happened in front of him. We saw a lot of different guys that were getting loose, almost causing wrecks right in front of our leader. We may have to worry about that as well.
Rob Shoemaker with no front clip, but out there doing as much as he can. Andrew Poliski on the bottom of the track. That car, it blew up, but they got that team figured out something because they got that car back on the track, but that Brian Helm had to slow up a little bit for Rob Shoemaker, and all of a sudden Troy Torgerson eats into that lead.
He certainly does. It pulls up a little bit closer than what Brian Helm would like. It's one of those things like yesterday we saw in the NASCAR race where Martin Truex looked up in his rearview mirror and went, "Holy crap, that's not a lap car, that's Kyle Larson," and it made for an exciting finish.
Yeah, it did. And Rob Shoemaker pulls down out of the way from Troy Torgerson. John Held got caught up in that wreck, unfortunately, after running in the top 10. He's going to pull down out of the way of the leaders here as well. Let Brian Helm go ahead. But he's going to come up. I don't know if he's going to cause Troy Torgerson any problems, but Troy Torgerson going to run through this real quick here. John Held was the last car on the lead lap, so he's going to go 1 lap down now.
And one of the advantages to iRacing is that you can actually talk to your competitors and ask them where you'd like them to be if you're the leader. So that way you get a little bit of an advantage to try to get around some of these guys.
continue to look at the 98 there. Brian Helm, 0.6 of a second. But again, as we saw that track map, Chris, there's cars all over this track. It's not going to get any easier because you got Bobby Terrell coming up. You got a couple other drivers. These drivers all down on power, so they're going to move out of the way. No problems there. But you're going to have some drivers. You're going to catch drivers. They're going to be battling for position, or drivers that are just trying to get back up there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when they start catching some of the drivers that aren't down on power.
Certainly that be the case, and the number 98 actually was faster that last lap than our leader.
And look at that time delta. It's 1.1 and down to 0.6 of a second. The 98 or the 26, they have pulled that gap way up over Bernard Persson, who's kind of created a little bit of a gaggle, if you will. Bernard Persson back here. There's 4 drivers, nose to tail. Persson, Grossi, Rupert, and TJ Bartel all within about 0.3 of a second or so. But they can't figure out a way to get around that number 8 car right now.
Absolutely. Number 8 doesn't want to give up that 3rd position, and why should he? As Wayne Grossi dives to the underside of that number 8 machine, going to try to do a little slide job to secure that position. Doesn't look like he's going to clear him, though.
Oh, he does. He does make it off the turn. And Wayne Grossi with a great move through turn 3, kind of slid up the track, but really gave a lot of space. So put Wayne Grossi into 3rd place. Kevin Rupert's going to try to take advantage. Oh, Bernard Persson hits the wall. And that's going to give it all up. Bernard Persson just got in the corner just a little bit too deep, and the 8 car is going to give up all those positions. And now he's got some more drivers going to be chasing down Chandler, Lang, and Powers. And more damage on that 8. I don't know if that's going to help him.
Certainly isn't, as he was already, it seems to be a little bit slower. But back up front, it's only 0.2 between our leader and 2nd place.
0.2, and you can see them on our screen. They're nose to tail. There are some drivers that don't have engine damage that are just ahead of them. There's a couple drivers with engine damage as well. See Brody Hanna pulling down the inside. But Gary Griffith is on full power as far as I know. Chris Beck might be down on power, but he's not running terrible lap times right now. So these guys going to have a little bit of Chris Beck pulls out of the way. Classy move by these lap drivers. By no means do they have to move out of the way, but if you're down on power, you should always move out of the way, in my opinion. But if you're still racing for something, you got to go for it. But these guys down on power getting out of the way as quickly as they can. So Brian Helm, he's got a mirror full of a black number 98. He got loose off turn 2, Chris.
He certainly did, and you got to imagine that the number 98 is seeing this, and he's going to do whatever he can to have the momentum coming out of the corner so that he can hope that happens again and puts him right up against our leader.
And the 26 scraped the wall. I don't think that did much damage, Chris, but the 26 definitely driving this thing. The 98, I should say, driving this thing. I mean, you have the top 8 drivers right now that haven't won a race. The top 8 haven't won a race this year. Of those top 8, Bernard Persson and Chad Lang and Brian Helm are the only winners in the Cup Series history. So you have 6 drivers that have never tasted victory in the Cup Series at FTSR. This is going to be a good finish right now. Brian Helm continuing to lead. Troy Torgerson going into 1.
He certainly is. In the last couple of laps, Brian Helm has been able to pull about a 10th on Troy Torgerson, and it may be that Troy is just hanging back, trying to cool off those tires so he can make another hard charge here as we come closer to 20 to go.
Now, Chris, let's if I could talk, reverse back to last week. I said that I thought Troy Torgerson maybe didn't put up enough fight against Jeff Winter. And you were kind of like, well, I don't know. What, in this situation, Troy Torgerson, what do you do in this situation? In my opinion, last week wasn't aggressive enough. Can he be more aggressive? Should he be more aggressive? Is he doing the right thing right now? What would you do if you're in the 98 shoes?
Well, at this point, I think the aggression came on the restarts, and we saw it. At this point, you kind of got to have a little bit of patience here, because as long as you can stay as close as he is to Brian Helm, lap down car is eventually going to play a bigger key into this. Right now, our leader's catching guys that are moving out of the way. As we get closer and closer to the end here, they're not going to be willing to just move up and out of the way. So you're kind of waiting for a mistake to happen from your leader and really close you up again. And you can see it right there. Torgerson on that lap is able to make up almost 2/10 on our leader.
And there is a secondary thing. You look at a guy like Brody Hanahan, who just pulled out of the way with no front clip. The other part of that is even Brody Hanna, when he's, half a straightaway ahead of these guys, even though this is a low downforce package, even though some of these cars are off pace, even though they're nowhere near the leader, there is a little bit aerodynamic deficiency that the trailing car gets, even if they're that far back, even with this low downforce package. Brian Helm loose off turn number 2. Torgerson is going to look on the outside into 3. He's going to take the lead.
Well, we just talked about it. What did he have to do to be able to get the lead here and the win? And we just saw a little bit of it right there. He waited for the accident, the little slip up by Brian Helm in that number 26 car, and he's able to make it work and get around him.
What a move. And we got to take a replay of that. That was a great move. And let's look. Here we go. Going into turn number 1. Brian Helm just gets up into the wall. You see the sparks come off the 26 machine. Coming down into the turn, he sees Torgerson gaining. He gets loose off turn 2, and he knows there's nothing he can do. Tries to cover him off, but it's already too late. Torgerson to the lead.
And at this point, now the roles are reversed. Brian Helm has to wait for Troy Torgerson to make that same mistake that he did, and hopefully be able to take advantage of it. I mean, and at this point, the 98 isn't exactly pulling away from the 26 either.
Yeah, it's not. And while we have a couple seconds here, Kevin Rupert and also got by Wayne Grossi for 3rd. So let's take a quick replay at the 1 car here. And they're in a bunch of traffic. And you see Rupert just kind of looking on the 7. TJ Bartel's there as well. All nose to tail. And Wayne Grossi just gets up the track. And it just gets a little bit tight. The 7 car gets tight. And Kevin Rupert up to 3rd place. That would be a career night for him if he's able to hold on.
It certainly would be, but behind him, TJ Bartel and that number 88 trying to make his debut and finish it on the podium here. These two guys are really battling hard here for this 3rd position.
Yeah, they've left Wayne Grossi behind. I think the handling's gone away on the 7, but he does have a little bit of a gap to Bernard Person. Tracy Powers is gaining on both these drivers. He could maybe sneak into the top 5. That'd be huge for that 45 car. Chad Lang in 8th. Randall Ballard has moved his way into 9th. He's battling with Chad Lang. And Dale Nearad. Dale Nearad, who was 28th, was a lap down 40 laps into this race. He has made his way to 10th place on the track. What a drive by the 03.
Impressive night from the 03 to be able to get up there. But man, the 1 and 88, they have a huge battle going on.
Side by side, down into turn 1. TJ Bartel trying to make it stick. Rupert battling back on the outside. The shadow there, and Rupert is going to clear him. Oh, sorry, that's turn 3. Apologies there. Rupert stays in front. Bartel's going to look again going into 1. He's going to try to get down in there. Rupert's not going to give him the space, and they're going to stay single file. And Chris, I think really at the end of the day, they just want the opportunity to talk to us.
I think you're right. It's definitely a prize to be able to speak to us on the podium here tonight, and they definitely know it.
And Kevin Rupert, we haven't talked to him at all this year. TJ Bartel was my former broadcast mate in the Cup Series. So he last season, the last 2 seasons, he actually didn't race in the Cup Series. And then he had some other things going on and decided to step away from the Monday Night Series completely and just returned to the other series about 3 weeks ago. So good to see TJ back out here and see Chris back getting out of the way. But this is the battle on the track. We are keeping tabs on the race lead. Brian Helm is 6/10 behind Troy Torgerson. But right now, the battle for 3rd with 12 laps to go, it's between Rupert and Bartel. And, man, this is huge for both these drivers. Yes, it's not a win, but this could be a massive points night for that number 1 car who is having a pretty underrated season.
He certainly is, and both of these drivers have a lot on the line here. I mean, Bartel wants to be able to come out and show that he can be a competitive force with these drivers, but Rupert has a championship to think about. At this point, he wants to do whatever he can to be able to get that position so he can get those points.
The onboard TJ Bartel just can't get the run off. That's the thing. When you have a driver on the outside in 3 or in turn 1, I think TJ Bartel is faster than Kevin Rupert. But he just can't get the run because there's a car there. He's not able to get that car to swing out as we jump back on board the number 88, I should say, going through turn number 1 and 2.
Well, when you mentioned it there, faster doesn't always mean that you're going to be able to get around these guys. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. The 1 is just being defensive enough to be able to keep the 88 off.
And this is basically the battle that Richie Coy and Troy Torgerson had on Thursday night in the Xfinity cars. TJ Bartel got a little bit loose on entry, holds on to that number 88. Good job holding on to it, but he's going to lose a ton of time to Kevin Rupert.
And Rupert's able to take a little bit of sigh of relief right there, as these guys are really battling hard.
And Kevin Rupert, we talked about him. We've been talking about him, but he is 21st in points. His best finish has been 8th this year. So this is going to be his best career finish. He's a rookie. So this is going to be a huge night for him as long as he's able to hold on to a top 5. These guys have pulled quite a bit of a gap on Wayne Grassi and Bernard Person, Tracy Powers. These guys back there, Chris, Powers, Lang, Nearad, and Ballard are about a half a lap down already to Troy Torgerson.
And Troy Torgerson is really just opening up that lead on Brian Helm, almost 1.2 seconds on Brian Helm. And at this point, this is his race basically to lose.
And my goodness, this is a big race to win. It's not the Southern 500, but a Darlington win is a Darlington win.
It certainly is, and we talked about it at the very beginning, that everyone wants to etch their name into this trophy here and be a part of the history of Darlington, which is really one of the crown jewels, of NASCAR, and even on iRacing, everyone wants to win here.
Troy Torgerson's never raced the Cup car at Darlington before. And actually, I mean, obviously he is a rookie in the Cup Series. But, you look at his last finishes, Chris, 2nd at Kansas, 9th at Talladega, which is a great run. I mean, I'd take a 15th if you guaranteed it at Talladega or Daytona for me. 9th at Richmond, 16th at Martinsville, but a top 5 at Auto Club, 3rd at Phoenix. I mean, earlier in the year, he has been on a tear. The last 3 races, 3 top 10s and 1 top 5. So that is always good to see. And Troy Torgerson trying to go one step better as we're going to have 5 laps to go here at Darlington.
5 laps to go. At this point, Troy Torgerson is doing everything he can to run his race, getting a little help from lap cars, getting out of the way, hoping that whatever it takes to get this 98 to victory lane, he finally gets it there.
And the other part of this is, first off, 4th place Ronnie Royal not here tonight because of some family issues, and we hope that all turns out for Ronnie and what's going on there. Bobby Terrell is running back in, last I looked, I believe he's running in about 18th position.
Looks like he's 16th, 1 lap down.
So 16th. He's 3rd in points. Richie Coy is out of the race back in the 30s. And Casey Mullen is on the lead lap, but he's in 16th place or 15th place now. Yeah, so he's in 15th place on last car on the lead lap. Troy Torgerson has an opportunity to pick up a lot of points on these drivers ahead of him in points.
He certainly does, and looking back, he's kind of started to get a little bit more, safety in his run, as Brian Helm's been able to close a little bit up on him, but not enough to be able to contend for the lead.
Yeah, 2 seconds in 3 laps is going to be difficult for Brian Helm, but Brian Helm, you got to take some solace in a great run for Brian Helm. It's definitely going to kind of solidify his position in the top 25. Came in 23rd in points, so this is a huge night for him to get some massive points on the drivers around him. Unfortunately, Tracy Powers is also one of those drivers around him, and he's in 7th place, so he's not going to gain too much on 22nd overall. And Kevin Rupert's 21st. So, ironically, tonight, somebody's in the wall. Somebody's in the wall. I cannot tell who that is. It was Paul Sargent, but he's able to get that thing going again. Thought we were going to have a big pile up there, but everybody did a great job getting through that as we are down to 2 laps to go here at Darlington. Torgerson leading, 3 seconds now the gap. Brian Helm had to check up for Paul Sargent there. Rupert and TJ Bartel back to battling again. Bartel is caught back up to the 1 car one more time, and we know how that's going to go. Looking at the rest of the field, Wayne Grassi, Bernard Person with that torn up front end, holding on to 6th. Tracy Powers in 7th. Don't know if he's going to have enough time to catch Bernard Person. Chad Lang, though, he's on the back end of Tracy Powers. Our battle on the track right now is for 7th place. As you see Chad Lang going underneath Tracy Powers, Randall Ballard trying to follow him through.
And these guys are doing everything they can to not bring out a caution. No one wants to see a caution at this point, except for maybe that number 1 and number 8, as they would really like to get a chance to be up here with our leaders.
And Troy Torgerson will cross the line, and he will grab his first career FTSR victory off of turn number 4, and Troy Torgerson has done it. Kevin Rupert will hold on to third. Brian Helm will grab second. Tracy Powers will hold off Chad Lang at the line, it looks like. Chad Lang giving everything. He's going to hold off and finish 7th. Lang 8th. Ballard 9th. And Neerad will finish in 10th place, holding off Jeff Chandler right at the end.
Man, what an incredible race here tonight. These guys battle through a lot of different things to be able to make it just to this finish line here tonight. But the guy who did it the best, Troy Torgerson on that 98.
Troy Torgerson, first career victory. And congratulations to him. And that is a huge, huge boost to the 98 program, as they are going to be able to lock themselves into the playoffs, potentially. I shouldn't say they locked themselves in, but gave themselves an opportunity for the playoffs. Troy Torgerson, unbelievable race. But Chris, you talk about this race and how it went. We had a long 70-lap green flag run to start the race off. The next 20 laps, we had 4 cautions. And then the last 50 laps, it was green flag again.
It certainly was, and that was able to play into the hands for a couple of these guys. Just had a little bit better long run speed, and that's really what it came down to here tonight.
You see Troy Torgerson, they're doing the burnouts. And Chris, let's take a look at our results here. And you look at Troy Torgerson with the win. Helm second, Rupert in third, Bartel fourth, Grossi fifth, Bernard Person, Powers, Lang, Ballard, and Neerad round out your top 10.
Jeff Chandler, Jason Speer, Kenneth Schultz, Lane Allen, Casey McMullen, Wayne Grossi, Bobby Turrell, Rachel Hunt, Jeff Winter, Chris Beck, and Bill Benedict III round out your top 20. This was an incredible night for a lot of different guys, and also a little heartbreaking for others.
And we look back at some of those drivers that kind of had a heartbreak here, as Chris alluded to. We look back past here. We've got John Held, who is in the top 10. He's going to come home 27th. Andrew Politsky in 23rd. Brody Hanna leading laps. 29th. Randy McCanney leading laps, or coming close to leading laps, in 30th. Tough break for both of those drivers. Dean Doucet will finish 33rd, just behind Sher Williford. Mayu, Geringer, Bratton, Bliss, Solari, Torrey, and Gawk all finish out your running order. Rory Collins, 21st tonight. Good recovery for him to make the event and finish in the top 20. So a huge night for him in the race. But Chris, we move on, and we're going to take a quick commercial break, not a Chris commercial break, and we'll be right back to hear from our top 3 finishers and take a look at next week at Circuit of the Americas and our point standings.
The field is rolling on the back straightaway.
Get ready, this is going to be tight.
over. Back here at Darlington, and we just got back from commercial break here. Casey Mullen, as you look at the championship standings, Casey Mullen leading the points over Troy Torgerson by 8 points. Casey Mullen with a massive recovery after running it back in the 30s all night, recovers to 15th, and that was enough to hold on to the point lead. Troy Torgerson jumping 3 spots into second place and etching his name in the winner's book. 11th different winner in 13 races. You can look at the other point standings all the way down through the rest of it. Some big losers here. Ronnie Royal dropping 3. Terry Cooper Jr., who was unable to race tonight, dropped 7 spots. Then you look a little bit further back. The top 25 battle, not a whole lot changed. Tim Bills drops down to 23rd, but Brody Hanna was able to stay in the top 25 despite that accident, Chris, and it's getting tight.
It certainly is. Kudos to that 23 bunch for being able to get that thing repaired enough to be able to just make circuits around this track and keep him above that bubble.
Yeah, a lot of drivers tonight had great runs, and it was an amazing race. You talk about Kevin Rupert holding on to get a great run here tonight and grabbing a podium finish. And I think, Chris, we're going to hear from him. I'm down on pit road here, and we're going to grab him here in just 1 second here.
Yeah, I never thought I'd get a chance to talk to you guys, to be honest with you. This is one tough league. Yeah, TJ, he ran me really clean. I got by him after that last restart, and then a few laps later, I rubbed the wall in 3 and 4, I believe, and it slowed me down. And he would get under me, and he never really pushed the issue. And he was probably a little angry because I was taking the line, but I was shooting for that top 3. I haven't had one this league, so I wasn't going to give it to him.
Well, I mean, Kevin, you were running the top 10 thereabouts, I think 8th to 13th most of the night. Had that long green flag run at the beginning of the race. And that one car, it seemed like you were making some moves toward the end of that run. We have a big wreck that took out a couple drivers that were contending, but you were able to make some moves. And really, it looked like you had some damage on the back of that machine, but it didn't look like it affected you at all in this race. And you were able to come home 3rd.
Yeah, in that long run early in it, I actually backed off to, I think it was let Rachel by, and I don't think the person behind me heard me say that. And so I got hit in the rear and lost about, 8-10 positions. So it took a long time to make those up, and then we had that caution. So it was about 45 seconds worth of damage, but it didn't seem to really impact it. I had a really good long run car.
And then we had that massive wreck when Randy McCanny took off to the outer space there. And you were able to just drive right through it. And you went from, I think, 9th or 10th at the time up to 5th. And then all of a sudden, did you think you might have had an opportunity to finish in the top 3 tonight, maybe even challenge for a victory after all that was said and done?
Yeah, I'm not really sure how I made it through there. I was looking at what looked like a helicopter flying above me on the backstretch, and there was a little gap, and I just shot through it. And I was watching my teammate because I was trying to see if he was going to make it through, and then I saw him get spun out. But to be honest with you, I didn't think I had a top 5. When we did the restart, I just told myself I'll be happy with a top 5 because I'm trying to get myself locked into this top 25. I mean, I'm there, but just barely. So. That was what I was hoping, and then I just started slowly picking off a couple of cars. But it was a lot of fun. Lap cars were definitely difficult. Some would go low, some would go high. And the high line's what I needed. So anytime they would give me the low line, it sort of messed me up. But we all had that same issue.
Well, Kevin, I mean, I know it's been kind of a difficult season. Your first season with FTSR, with Gladiators of Racing, you and Kenneth Schultz, Rob Shoemaker, some of you guys have missed some races, unfortunately, D&Qs. But this is a big win, a big run for you guys. Is this almost like a win for that group?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we came from a fixed setup league, so this whole setup thing's new for us. Before I get off here, I want to congratulate Troy. Troy's one heck of a guy. I've raced with Troy for a long time, and he's actually the person that helped get us into this league. So I was extremely happy to see Troy get the victory tonight. And this means a lot. I'm extremely excited.
Well, unofficially, you move up to 17th in points, so that's going to be huge for you from 21st. Kevin, congratulations. Race with you in the other 3 series, sports cars, trucks, and Xfinity. Think you're a top racer, man, and enjoy racing with you. Happy to see you get a 3rd place, and I'm going to turn it over to you and let you have the last word, bud.
Yeah, I just want to say again, thanks to all the admins in this league. This is an awesome league, and it's a lot of work. And I really appreciate everything you do. And some of the other Ford drivers have been really helping us with the setups, and I really appreciate that too. I'm excited. I love this league. I love racing, and hopefully I can talk to you all again sometime in the future. And it was good to get this Rick Mass throwback car into the top three. I used to historically always race the Skull car, but it was the 33. Since I'm the one, I thought this would be a good throwback. Well, when you see Skull, that's first person you think of, right?
I certainly am. And Brian, you were able to bring it home P2 here tonight. I know that's not the position you wanted. Take me through those closing laps of this race. So, really, what happened to make you fall into the clutches of the 98?
Well, I don't know. I mean, my set wasn't really that great on the long run, and those restarts, I was really barreling it in the corner, using up a lot of right front, staying in front of Troy. I mean, he was awesome on the long run. I figured the only chance I had was to stay out in front of him, and there was just not much I could do there.
Well, looking at the lap times, it was lap 105 that Troy made his fastest lap, and the very next lap, you decided to step it up even a little bit quicker than him. But as you just mentioned, you were kind of a rocket on those restarts. I was able to get up in front of the 98 and kind of pull away there. Um, but you mentioned that the 98 just had a little bit better of a long run car there. What do you think it would have taken to be able to retain that lead?
Oh, if we didn't have them yellows, I was gone after that second pit stop. And when we started getting those yellows at the end, I mean, that bunched us back up. I was, I don't know, 3 or 4 seconds gone, I think. And, if we didn't have any yellows there at the end of the race, I probably could have cruise controlled it.
Well, and you're right. The cautions there did put a monkey wrench in everyone's plans. It definitely shook up the top 10, that's for sure. So looking at it, it was a pretty good night for you guys in this number 26 machine. Sorry, excuse me there. Who would you like to thank that gets this number 26 car to and from the track each week?
Well, first, I'd like to congrats Troy. I mean, a super good job by him. He told me that that was his first win in FTSR in the Cup deal, and it would have been my first win too. Congrats to him. I'd like to thank Darkmatter Design for sponsoring the deal. The boys at Bandit Racing and our cohorts over at Spears Motorsports, Brody and all the admins. I mean, what a great series. I mean, it's a tough track, and I know we got some yellows today, but it's not as many as you might think in the real world. So, and you two guys, Jared and Chris, thanks for you know doing the broadcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you there. We certainly enjoy it. And Brian, we'll be watching you next week, and hopefully you'll be able to get it done there. But I'm going to throw it back over to our to Jared, as I think he is kind of drenched in some champagne down there in Victory Lane.
How about that, Jared, man? We finally got one here, man. We got the monkey off the back, and I was beginning to wonder if I was ever going to get one of these things, man. What a great race tonight, man.
The top five all night long, running that Rusty Wallace throwback. I mean, take us through that race. So you were, you look at Dean Doucet. He's destroying the field, honestly, if we're going to be honest for a second, in the first round of pit stops there. And you're kind of, I think, third, fourth, fifth-ish in that race. And take us through what your mindset was at that beginning. Did you think you might have had a car to contend there? Or did things kind of open up as the race kind of shook out a little bit?
Oh, I knew we had a good car. We did some open races over the weekend, and we ran really, really, really strong. Yeah, that's too bad for Dean. I don't know. I guess he got tangled up in a wreck there, but man, he was gone. And I was just riding that first. I knew we were gonna make 2 stops. We're going to pit about lap 49 or 50, and well, we made it there and got out of the pits, and Brian jumped us there, just getting. We had just passed him for second, and he got out of. He went in and got out of it before us, and put up a pretty big gap. And then we caught some lap cars there. It was just like a gaggle of lap cars.
Well, Troy, I mean, you know, that
struggled a little bit getting through them.
Yeah, apologies there. We saw you. It looked like you really had a good long run car. I think you were 6 on that first run. You kind of started to move forward. I think you got to second before that first round of pit stops. What about those cautions that we had from lap 70 to lap 92? We had 4 cautions, but the race was bookended by long green flag runs. Did those cautions, were you able to adjust things? Did you make adjustments? Did they kind of break your concentration? I guess at the end of the day, did they affect you at all?
No, they were pretty. They kind of happened all there together within a, 20, 25 laps, I think, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, I was hoping for a long run there. That one caution there that we last pitted enabled us to go the distance there, and we went 61 laps over the weekend, and I knew the car was fast, and I just had to roll it into the corners, man. I had to make sure I wasn't sliding that right front, getting into the corners.
Well, Troy, I'll be honest. I don't know if you watched the broadcast last week yet, but I said you're a little bit too nice at Kansas, and this week you redeemed yourself. You got the win, man. You're one of the best, nicest guys in the series. I really like racing with you. We've had some great battles on the track, in other series, so it's great to have you win. You got the win tonight at a historic track that's huge. Does that take any pressure off of you? Knowing you have that win doesn't necessarily guarantee you're locked into the playoffs, but we have some pretty tough races coming up, including 2 road courses before we head into the playoffs. Does it make you feel a little bit better with that win in the box?
Oh, absolutely, Jared. Yeah, just to have that in my back pocket is huge for me. It relieves some of the pressure, like you said, we're not definitely locked in, but it does give us advantage over the guys that haven't gotten a win yet. Still ways to go. Yeah, the road courses, I just kind of ride around there. We'll see what happens with those.
Well, it's coming up next week. Not next week, 2 weeks. So we got Dover and then Circuit of Americas. So it's going to be, got some time to prepare, but Circuit of the Americas, I think, is going to be a challenge for everybody. But Troy, congratulations again. You're going to move up to second in points unofficially. I'm going to turn the floor over to you and let you have the final word tonight. And congrats again. I'm real happy for you, man.
Thanks, Jared. I got to thank my team, man. GT Performance Sim Sport, man. What a setup Bill built for this car tonight, man. Oh, it was amazing. They had a little bit of bad luck with some traffic in the wall a little bit. They got some stripes, but man, they were all there at the end for me. They were all happy and cheering, and they were, man, I can't say enough, man. This league is awesome. Thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Thank Brody and everybody for the league, and Darkmatters for sponsoring it. Man, you just really, I'm just overjoyed right now. I can't believe it.
Well, Troy, enjoy it, soak it in, man, and we'll see you on the track later this week in the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and so on and so forth. But congratulations. I don't think I've seen a driver more excited than Troy Torgerson.
Absolutely not, and it's a long time coming. I mean, he was very consistent throughout the last couple of races, and we saw a couple slip out of his grasp, and he wasn't going to let that happen here tonight.
No, he wasn't. Well, that's going to end up our coverage here tonight at Darlington, but we look ahead, Chris. We have Dover as our next race, and then Circuit of the Americas and Charlotte. That's going to be, it's kind of an interesting stretch of races we have coming up. What kind of things do you think you're going to be looking for moving forward with these next 3 events?
Well, the best thing about them is that each one of them is completely different than the other. I mean, next week we go to a short track that races like it doesn't know that it's a short track, and with a high speed, high banks of Dover, and cars are going to slip and slide all over the place. It's kind of a one groove track, and it makes it really hard to get around. Then we flip it to the week after that. We're going to go to the Circuit of the Americas, one of my favorite tracks on the NASCAR schedule now, but it is incredibly difficult. It's not about whether or not you have a fast setup. It's about whether or not you can keep the car on the track. Yeah, there's a lot of runoff room, and that's great and lovely, but runoff room may not be enough if you're not able to get it slowed down. So it'll be interesting to see there. And then we go to Charlotte, which, is probably a lot of guys' favorite tracks because of the Coke 600. But really, the biggest thing about it is it's a normal track compared to the other two.
Exactly. And you're going to be able to catch all that action on Full Throttle TV. Excuse me. Allergies are killing me. I think we're all battling that. But the next 3 weeks will all be on Full Throttle TV. Excited to carry them. Excited to be in the booth with Chris. But that's going to do it for tonight. From Darlington, I'm Jared Carr. For Chris Speer, we will see you guys out on the track.